Welcome to Third Fridays, the monthly legal talk show from Lois LLC featuring attorney Kristine Seesaw. This is the original forum in which real attorneys discuss workers' compensation issues, share their opinions, and engage in colorful conversations. This show showcases diverse perspectives of attorneys handling workers' comp cases, including case law trends, practical litigation strategies, and hot topics. Here's your host, Kristine Seesaw.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Third Fridays podcast. It's January 2026. Happy New Year to everybody. This one is episode 100 of this show. It's about 10 years ago that we started this in some windowless room with borrowed chairs, a dusty table, and I believe about, we only had maybe 15 attorneys in the firm. So we've come a long way. And so it's something that we want to celebrate and also look back on. So before we get into that, I do want to recap last month's episode. If anybody didn't get a chance to hear it, we had some of the newest attorneys at the firm talk about their first year at Lois. And, if you think about Spotify, giving you your greatest hits and they're wrapped, we had a really, really fun time talking to three new attorneys who basically came from either a workers' compensation background or something completely different, and then come into, I don't want to call it the woodshed, but it's not an easy thing. And to come here with an elevated mindset, full of positivity, you get all the benefits of everyone that has come here before you. This pay it forward approach has basically emboldened my career, given me everything that I could have ever asked for and more. And so I could only wish the same amount of success for those three that appeared last month. So that was a great listen. What we're going to do today is actually look back on episode 1, December 2016, when that premiered. And I have 5 guests here today that have been absolutely slaying it at the firm, doing everything they possibly can for employers and carriers around the state. And they weren't here December 16th, 2016. And what a journey it's been for everyone. I want to get their opinion on where they were, why did they decide to come here, what's happened to really make them so successful, because I think that's something that people are thinking about as the year turns, right? Everybody has these New Year's resolutions, and oddly enough, today, the day that we're recording it, January 9th, 2026, it's actually National Quitters Day, right? For New Year's resolution. It's the second Friday after New Year's, if you didn't know, right? So it's like the first time that people's like, this New Year's resolution too hard, right? So I think that's going to be very poignant when we start talking about it. So I've been talking for the last 3 minutes. That's never good. Let's introduce everybody to this show. From my left to right, Kristine, Rosales, Meisha, Powell, Olivia, Barna, Scott Grossman, and Dan Gillis. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I just want to, and I don't know who wants to start, who wants to really get into it, right? But what's interesting about this podcast to me is that none of the issues that we talk about become irrelevant over the course of time. So if you think about December 16th, 2016, we recorded a show about opiates and the addiction issues and the cost issues for employers and carriers. And that was 10 years ago. And it's still a problem here today. The abuse from healthcare providers in just writing scripts or perhaps passing off a prescription pad to a PA or an NP that just signs something and, just extends the oxycodone and tramadol and all those things to, the MSAs that have an extrapolation of those costs for the rest of someone's natural life, right? They don't take into account that someone needs to be weaned off, or that no one generally stays on the same level of morphine for the rest of their life without dying from it, right? So it's still an issue, right? It's still something that is still prevalent. And maybe just through time, it's still one of the most highly downloaded episodes in our podcast history. But for you guys, right, something was relevant for you in December 2016 to think like, okay, I'm not going to be at wherever I was forever, whether that's I was in school or I was at a different firm, or maybe maybe at that point you actually thought wherever you were was going to be the place you're going to be. And for various reasons that changed to our benefit, right? So does anyone want to start about, where they were in that time in your life? Anybody have any thoughts to kick us off?
I can start. This is Olivia. Oh.
Hi, Olivia.
Hi. So December 2016, I was about 3 years outside of just college. I was not in law school. I actually had no thoughts of going to law school. My sister was a lawyer. My dad was a lawyer. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to be a lawyer. I don't want to do what my family does. So I actually was in marketing at like a broadband company, selling internet, not selling, but they were marketing internet and everything. And it was actually my last job before I decided to go to law school.
Interesting, because selling internet sounds awesome. Like, I'm going to sell the internet. But obviously that's not what you're actually doing. But yeah, go ahead.
Like Facebook posts, Twitter, all that, or X now. But, Facebook, working with the NFL, like really cool stuff. But just something was missing, like a passion. And it was actually, I ended up quitting that job in February of 2017 to start applying to law school. So it was like my last hurrah, I guess, before realizing that I should have went to law school because it's in my DNA, in my blood. And my only regret was not going to law school sooner at that point.
You're fighting the urge to go to law school.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I think that's like a natural thing. It's 3 years of hard work with no guarantee of a particular result. I think like a lot of people face that prospect. And we have a couple of paralegals here that are now attorneys that went through that process. And God bless that, honestly. But when you decided to go to law school, there's no chance you're thinking, I want to be a workers' compensation defense attorney. Did you even know that existed? Because I didn't.
No, I wanted to be, my ultimate goal at that time was to be like the commissioner of the NHL. And I'm not even exaggerating. Like that was my all-time goal. I wanted to do sports law and eventually kick Gary Bettman out of his job. Like that was my goal. Like, I'm not kidding. We had season tickets to a hockey team, and that was just my ultimate goal. Obviously, I went a different path.
Well, isn't it Gary Bettman's still the commissioner, right?
Yes.
I coached his grandson.
Oh, Scott. I was wondering if Gary Bettman's still the commissioner of the NHL, like, are you more likely to kick him out now than when before you went to law school? Okay. So commissioner of the NHL to now defending employers in workers' compensation claims. I mean, that's quite a turn. All right. Anybody else? Can anybody top that from where they were in December of 2016?
I don't think I wasn't selling internet or selling the internet or anything like that. I mean, December 2016, I just finished my third semester of law school. I had done the accelerated program at Pace, so I'd basically been going to school for a year straight at that point.
Like through summer and
I did that too. I did the
accelerated. Olivia knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's basically 3 weeks of breaks over the course of a year. But in reality, because you have to read over those breaks, it's really not much of a break. So I was pretty tired by December 2016, living at my sister's house, going to school at Pace full time. Because a year earlier, I've ripped the Band-Aid off and went to school full time. I've been working as a paralegal for 3.5 years, and it really wasn't going anywhere. And I just kind of had to make a dramatic shift and just, go full bore to full-time law school to get out of where I was.
So that's actually really interesting. You were a paralegal and you were going to law school part-time.
Nope.
No.
I was 3.5 years straight as a paralegal, started applying to law school, got into Pace, got into Suffolk, but best choice was going to Pace and just full 2.5 years,
Oh, so you left your job as a paralegal to go.
Gave notice, went full-time law school, lived at between my parents' house and my sister's house to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's also not easy. I mean, I remember going to law school full-time and just eating as many meals at home as possibly could because I was so broke. Loving the free laundry and all that stuff. So you got 2 law school people 10 years ago. Anybody else want to talk about that?
Well, this is Meisha. So I'm going to probably age myself, but don't get alarmed. So by 2016, I was literally already practicing law for almost 10 years. I was actually at a really big Midtown law firm, Powell, and my title at the time was staff attorney. And at that time in 2016, I had my 3rd child. So my youngest kid was only 2 years old. I actually really liked working at Powell because it was a kind of an easygoing kind of job, believe it or not. So I had time to deal with my kids, spend time with my kids. So, one thing that I can say is that, as a working mom, I feel like it is very difficult to you're either choosing your family, your kids, or your career. And during that time in 2016, having 3 young kids, I chose my kids. So I stayed in a position where I wouldn't say it wasn't really challenging, I would say. It was a lot of document review. You didn't really go to court. You weren't seeing judges. Nothing really exciting, but it paid the bills and I was comfortable and I was able to spend time with my kids. So during that time, I chose, my kids over developing or really growing my career at that time. So that's what I was doing. Not as exciting as everyone else, but definitely
better though, right? I would hope most people I know many people don't do that, but most people should, right? To have a steady job and also be a parent to 3 kids is not, I guess, you're already working multiple jobs, right? So, I think talking to many parents here at the firm, right? And people can talk about the trials and tribulations of, putting your effort in so many different baskets, right? But making that choice probably sets you up for so much better decision-making opportunities in the future because you kind of know where your priorities are from the get-go, right? You're not putting your kids second.
Right.
Okay, so we have 2 law schools. We have someone work, and I guess if we get some inquiries from Paul Weiss about how easy it is to work there as a staff attorney, they might. I'm gonna send them straight to you, Meisha, because I hope they're not. I hope we're not that popular, honestly, but that's okay. What about you guys, Scott, Kristine? Anything else to add to where were you guys in December of that year?
So to date myself as well, and maybe to make Meisha feel a little better, I actually looked at my camera roll from 2016 to see,
That's what
honestly.
I did too. I did the same thing.
And I was in Buffalo. And the reason why I was in Buffalo.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Love Buffalo.
Was because I had a client who insisted that I personally handle a claim up in Buffalo. So they obviously paid for me to go up there, hotel, the whole thing. And I was up there in Buffalo handling this particular pain in the you-know-what claim because I had to handle it.
Well, Scott, if they're going to pay for you to go up there with a hotel, it's not going to be a Section 32 hearing, right?
No.
Right.
It finally led to one down the road.
Right.
So, which is why they wanted me to handle it. So that's where I was physically. Funny enough, when I was looking at my camera roll. From a job standpoint, I was 15, 16 years in, and I was slogging through that like I was slogging through the lake effect snow up in Buffalo. For me, I came in to the legal profession doing liability. I did liability defense for years, and I kind of fell into comp, and that's another story onto its own.
I think everybody did, though, right? We're not all sitting here.
It was interesting, but the reason why I kind of fell into comp was because long story short, an adjuster reached out in a panic, and it's almost like they didn't realize they were calling liability counsel.
Oh,
and I was like, all right, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it, and I'll figure it out as I went. I litigated this comp case like I did a liability case, and everybody looked at me like I was nuts.
Or they probably
Like,
hate
why are
it.
you trying so hard? And it was a blessing and a curse, I guess you could say, because at that time I was still handling a full caseload of liability. Party depositions on a daily basis, going out to Supreme, wherever. And then I was also building up this caseload of comp. And it was overwhelming, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But I was just expected to keep doing what I was doing and, get an occasional pat on the back here and there, like, great job.
Right.
Now
right.
go bill more.
I think that does apply to kind of everybody wherever they're at, right? Everyone at some point in their life is just expected to kind of not screw it up, right? In terms of, maybe I didn't put that correctly, but instead of, trusting someone to elevate their skills consistently day after day and get better and go after something different, something new, until you like really live in it, you're probably just trying to get through the day, right? Get through the case, through the hearing, through the next email. I think we've all been there at some point, whether it's, even in law school, right? Get through the next class, get through the next exam, all of that. Dan and Olivia here are talking about just having 3 weeks off, or they're not even doing like rest, like during that 3 weeks, right? What about you, Kristine? So let's finish this off in terms of what were we doing in December of 2016?
Hi, I'm Kristine Rosales. I'm a 16-year-old attorney. In 2016, I was in the United States for the very first time on a tourist visa. I visited New York City, and around that time, I found out that the Board of Legal Examiners approved my foreign legal credentials so I can take the New York State Bar examination. Because as you know, I completed my foreign legal education in the Philippines. Career-wise, I was working as a prosecutor. It was already my third year at that time. I was connected with the Office of the Special Prosecutor. I prosecuted high-ranking public officials before the anti-graft court.
So you were not everyone's friend, I guess. You're exposing like the bad actors. So you didn't. Were you able to get your New York license without having to take exams, or did you have to take exams to be licensed as a New York attorney?
The only thing I have to take was the New York Bar examination, MPRE, New York Law course, and the New York Law exam.
Okay, so we've had, it is now running the gamut of we're talking about students to, big law to actually December 2016, I'm just fly up to Buffalo to do a hearing, and all the way across the world, from the Philippines to here. So I think this is a little perfect because you guys know, I sent this blast email to a bunch of people saying who wants to talk about this particular thing. I wasn't thinking oh, we're going to get this people and that person and right, all that stuff. And through just the actual diversity that we have in this firm, right? It just so happens that 5 senior ranking members of this company have extremely different experiences in coming here, right? So setting that stage, right? You're now in a place where you can really talk about where your career is now. And that's probably the thing that puts everybody more closely in line with their experiences, right? Because whether it's, some people have stayed here for more years more than others, and some people are doing different things, different clients. But now in 2026, we're kind of all having the same shared experience. So can anybody talk about where they are today and how they got there? How did you personally feel your 10-year ago experience shaped how you attacked being a complete workers' compensation defense attorney?
Well, Christian, it's funny. I think you said earlier, no one plans to be a workers' compensation attorney, right? And, when I was working at Powell, again, it was a comfortable position But at some point, I knew to myself, I can't make a career of this, right? I want to have a career. And funny enough, I took like a year off and I did real estate because I was like, I want to be the biggest real estate broker in New York.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. So that was a little year off that I took, but it was right around COVID. So I did real estate for like about a year. COVID hit and I was like, oh wait, you have a law license. You better go back and practice law. And, I think it's just at that time you just start saying to yourself, well, what are you going to do? Like, what is your plan? Like, and I don't even know how I fell into comp. I think my resume was it was on Indeed. The first person that called me was an actually claimant firm. So, and I'm like, workers' compensation. I don't even know what this is, but hey, let me give it a try.
So you didn't specifically apply to that firm? They just found you on Indeed?
Correct. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And I went in for the interview. I didn't interview anywhere else. Huh. And I thought to myself, well, this sounds interesting. And I don't know. There's just something about it. I was like, oh my God, I absolutely love this. I don't know if it's the arguing in front of the judges. And I really, really enjoyed it. And listen, I defended claimants for 2 years. And that was quite an experience. But I always felt like, I don't know if this is the right fit. I liked comp, but I didn't know if the right fit was representing claimants. So that's how I ended up here, representing carriers and employers.
I'll let you in on a little secret. The answer is not to defend claimants. So you made the right choice. Right? I mean, I think we know that, and not to anger our adversaries across the table more than I already do, but a tip of the cap to you guys across the aisle as well, because you guys have to deal with a lot, right? And I think that's part of why being a defense attorney in this space is so interesting, because you're working with professional employers. You're not working with claimants who may not be telling you everything about their prior history, about whether the accident happened. And a lot of claimants' attorneys actually get put in this position of having to put forth evidence that they're shaky about, right? They don't know if this is actually true, but they've heard it from their client that this is what's happened, so they have to advocate. And it's not a space that I would enjoy being in. But it's a really interesting experience, Meisha. Anybody else have a similar one, or want to pivot to something different?
Well,
I was going to say, I mean, before I got here, and I was between jobs because this was COVID. So I lost my job at the end of July, and I was kind of a lot of uncertainty with employers, and they were like, well, not sure what's going on. And by the time I think I kind of stalked Judy a little bit on LinkedIn after I applied. I'm like, because I had explored this office on NICEF, because that's the only thing I had access to, and reading all the filings. And I'm like, I don't really know what this is, but I'm really interested in it. So I just kind of stayed with that. And before I accepted this position, I had another offer at a insurance defense firm. Like, seems like what you were doing early on. And it I don't know, it just keeps they were really nice, and they were really, willing to train me, but it just seemed kind of like the safe option. And I kind of just ventured into the unknown, where I met this guy to my left, and was trained under him for a year. So it was quite the experience. You don't really expect when you're in law school to be a comp attorney, but here you are. And 5 years later, 5 years Monday. So.
Oh, 5 years Monday. Congrats, Dan. That's amazing.
Congrats.
So you spoke of also like coming into the unknown when you had a safe option, right? And do you guys think, before we get into the rest of your experiences, right? Do you guys think that people come into this industry with that same thought, like, I have this safe option, but I'm going to choose the unknown of workers' compensation? Or do you think that, because everybody that's in this industry has to get in, right? They got to start somewhere, right? So is it because it's an unknown, or is it that they want to try, or is it because of something else? What has been your experience?
Well, that's actually a really good question. So I conduct interviews for like incoming
Sure.
associates. And we often ask them, like, why, how did you find us? Like, how did you even decide to apply to this job? And honestly, the answer that we get most of the time, it's literally just, I don't know, someone tells them, hey, look at this firm, and they start digging in.
Right.
And I think when they see that what we do, how we do it, the culture, all the different things that happens at the firm, I think that's what piques their interest. Not necessarily workers' compensation, but whoa, this firm looks like and I know I probably sound like a commercial, but no, seriously. I mean, they're literally like, wow, this firm looks like a cool place to work. I think I would enjoy working there, because it's not about just practicing law, but if you have a place that you can work, that you actually fit in with the culture, you actually like the people you work with, it makes your job that much easier.
So much easier.
Yeah.
That's what happened with me when I was also a COVID. I'll call it a COVID baby. I had my virtual law school graduation in May of 2020. I passed the bar because I took the bar early in February, and I took some random job locally because I didn't know who was going to hire me, and It was toxic, and it was old school, and you have to come in before all the bosses and leave after the bosses, and it was silly. And
Scott's chuckling because he's like been through that.
I know, and me being a millennial, I'm entitled to a different culture. I'm just kidding, but I somehow lasted there like 11 months, and I remember taking a virtual interview with Christian, and I think John might have been there, because I think we talked about college football, and I don't know who else was on the virtual call for my interview. But then I remember just being sold on the job, being like, you don't have to like work these crazy hours, like just work-life balance is important to us. And that's initially what had sold me on the job here, again, almost 5 years ago in February, and no regrets. I mean, I didn't even think about comp. Like, I just like, I'll try this. Like, I don't know what it is. It's funny because I refused to do litigation. I was like, I don't want to do litigation.
Yeah.
I want to be like an in-house corporate attorney or work for the NHL.
Right.
But I didn't even think about.
I can still introduce you to Gary if you want.
I'll take his job, except I have. But yeah, so I didn't even think about the actual like contents of the job. I just kind of I cared more about the culture, and I was willing to learn something new for that, I guess.
Well, what's interesting about that is, Scott, Meisha, and Kristine, you guys knew what the area of law was before you came here, right? And so last month when we had the 3 new attorneys, some of them had a little bit of workers' compensation experience. And so they said the same thing. They said that like, well, I do believe that we do it differently here. I say this all the time, that if it never worked out for me here, I don't know that I could actually do it somewhere else, because it would just be like taking a step down. But for the most part, when you have that experience in the industry, you're not worried about like the practice of the law, right? You're worried about like, does this fit, right? So for, Meisha, we heard from you about it, but from Scott or Kristine, like, what were you thinking about compared to where you were working, since, you knew the concepts already, right? Like, you knew how fast paced it was. You knew that you would be in hearings and depositions, try requesting an adjournment. Good luck with that, right? Like, you knew how fast paced it would be, right? So what was the deciding factor for you guys in saying like, what, I want to do the same thing, but just with you guys?
Wow. Well, for me, and we've talked about this before, but I was the entire workers' compensation department. Yeah. Because again, it grew out of nothing, essentially. I handled this one claim and knocked it out of the park because, like I said, I treated it like a liability case.
So that was the first.
Yes.
That was the first. Wow. So
I never thought about
December 2016, like anchor date that I brought up was actually the time that you handled your first.
Oh, no. I had been doing comp claims.
Okay.
That occurred somewhere around, I want to say 2008 or something like that, or 2009 when that first happened. But I don't want to call it a problem, but for me it was sort of a problem because, like I said, I had a full liability caseload, And the next thing I know, after that one claim, they started sending more and more and more and more. And who was going to do it? Only me.
Right.
So I had a full liability caseload, and then I started having a full comp caseload with nobody else to share the burden with. And that happened for a long time until finally, after a few years, my old firm, I basically was just doing just comp at that point. And I will say that until I started doing it, I had never thought about a workers' compensation case other than the fact that it was going to potentially impact a settlement or a resolution in my liability claim. Obviously, if there was a lien and things like that. But for me, for comp, just it was accidental. But once I was doing it, I did realize how much I liked it. For me, comp was essentially the best part of liability without all the nonsense. And what I mean by that is, like you said, the comp cases, there's no adjournments. It's go, 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 go. And obviously the rules of evidence are relaxed and things like that. It's administrative. But I liked all of the argument and the go-go part of it. Versus my liability claim, someone would be 5, 6, 7, 8 years old by the time they finally even got onto a trial calendar.
Wow.
So I actually like that part. I like the fast pace of comp, to be honest with you.
Can you imagine? I mean, let's say you want to litigate, right? Coming out of law school or, whatever, and you go sit at a firm and you don't get to say anything on the record for 5 years.
True. Right out of law school, I mean, that's what I was doing. I was trusted estates. It was interesting. It was nuanced, but I was physically in court maybe 2 or 3 times in 2 years. And I wasn't even saying anything. I was just in the galley because I was observing the partners.
And then Dan, I looked at your calendar today too, just to schedule it, and it's like you have 3 listings today.
I already had one.
Yeah. What about you, Kristine? In terms of coming over from the same area of law, it wasn't going to be an unknown compared to someone who had never made that jump, right? Or maybe was it? What were you thinking that you were jumping into something that was completely new? Because maybe I'm putting the cart before the horse, right? Just because you work in the same industry, you can go to a different firm doesn't mean that it's exactly the same, right? So what was your mindset?
My mindset at that time was I was just fortunate enough to be in a deposition where there was a lowest attorney, and I saw that lowest attorney perform really well at the deposition. So I was really encouraged to transfer to lowest law firm. That was the main selling point for me. When I started my career, I was an in-house counsel, and I did not like it so much because there's no litigation, there's no action. So in my next job, I was a public defender. I really liked it, but I like to transfer to the defense side, the prosecutor side, and defend and prosecute against high-ranking public officials. When I moved to the United States, I did not know what kind of job I was gonna get, so I just applied for random legal jobs that are near where I lived at that time. And luckily, I was hired as a claimant's attorney in New York City, and that's where I got my experience from. After doing claimant stuff for 3.5 years, I decided I want to do insurance defense work. And when I learned about Lois Law Firm, I was really motivated to join because I was reading all these wins, all the activities, and all of the trainings that they have. And I didn't have those kind of trainings in my former firm. And luckily, I got hired, and I'm now here working as a senior associate at Lois Law Firm.
Yeah, it's like all you guys here, you have these like fancy titles and stuff, and it's not lost on me that maybe like your experiences, at least in the recent past, are going to be different from someone who's coming out of law school now, or someone who's just going to start at the firm in the coming months, or maybe someone who just started a couple months ago. They're going to have hopefully the same path, but the experiences, what they're going through in the near future, are not going to be what you guys are going to, right? So we talk about the new year and we talk about what resolutions that we want to make for ourselves, pointedly, you guys are probably thinking about resolutions in your careers that are different from someone who just started, right? Like someone may say, their resolution is to be more proficient in litigating fraud, right? But I mean, like everybody here has like done so many different fraud trials, so many different kinds of them, written all the fraud appeals, gotten all these wins, right? That probably isn't your level of resolution. So that brings me to that question. For someone who is a senior ranking attorney with all this litigation experience, what is the New Year's resolution in your mind for 2026? I did it. I stumped everybody.
I'll go.
Start.
I'll go. For me, I think it's probably to help more, I guess you could say. Because I do have background also in liability, and I've been doing comp for a while. I'm going to say a while, so I don't want to date myself again, Meisha. But there may be certain little tips and tricks or things like that, or just the reality versus the expectation,
right?
That I may be able to help with, just in general, just for anybody in the firm. Maybe it's the coach in me. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
Scott actually has been very helpful whenever he has a win and he shares it in the teams. I was actually inspired when one of his wins, and I used his defense in one of the cases, and I also won.
There you go. So I appreciate that.
Wait, Kristine, are you saying that Scott has already completed his New Year's resolution? Because that's not fair.
9 days in, we're good.
It's quitting day.
Right? Yeah. So I think that's a really good thought, because you're right. Like, in a fast-paced environment, I think the defense mechanism sometimes for a person is to like, I just got to do this thing, and then I got to move on to the next thing. I got to do that, and it's like you stack on all those things that you do, and there's this. I don't think it happens too often, but there is that little voice in your head that sometimes has to remind you to go back to the big picture, right? And like, what is the big picture here? And it's like, well, I mean, I do remember when I was like a new attorney, and I would literally go from office to office asking a question, right? Like I asked so-and-so a question, and then I was like, oh, well, I asked that person a question. I can't ask them again, right? Yeah. And so I think people are definitely searching for that. And they may not say it, right? I don't shout out all our newest 1-2 year attorneys here. They're doing so well, but they're not always going to say that they could use the help that people like you, the 5 of you, can provide. So, I mean, to help more is a great resolution. And I guess one you've already completed. So great.
Well, thank you. But I mean, I will say part of that comes from when I first started, I was afraid to ask questions. And one of the reasons I'll tell you right now is because my first boss, when I had my first court appearance in Supreme Bronx, was don't F it up. That was it.
Well,
that was the guidance.
I think that, what the funny thing about that is, I mean, that is like implied everywhere, right? Right. But I guess the idea that you experienced that is more that you felt like there was no like availability of help, of assistance.
I don't want people to ever feel that way. And it's great that Lois offers all the training and everything as well. But if there's anything, like I said, I can offer in any way that might be a little different, or, if something comes up in Supreme, or, somebody has a question about a liability case affecting their comp case or loss transfer. I mean, I've done all that stuff, which a lot of people may not have. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, I'd be willing to help.
Okay.
That's
when
all.
this gets published, Scott, if your inbox goes crazy, this was your doing.
My own fault.
No, that's great. Anybody else? So we have like, I guess, a resolution to provide more help, more assistance, more guidance.
Well, can I say, so again, this is Meisha. As I sit here and think about that question, I think, so the area of workers' comp, like there's certain things that we see all the time, right? But the law changes. So I guess, and I've always thought about this, and I'm always thinking about this when I get a new case, when I get something different or nuanced. I'm like, hey, maybe this is the case to change or to shift the law, right? So I think about it all the time, but that's always going to be like, I guess, my resolution to see if I can be involved in a case where, I don't know, it goes up to the third department or whatever it is, and it shifts or changes the law, of course, in the carrier's favor. But, I'm always looking for that type of opportunity, I guess. And I feel like most attorneys here are, right? We're all looking for that because I think that's a big deal. When you have cases that, when you're in training, these are the cases that people are talking about. Wouldn't you love to know that your name, you've been involved in that in some way?
Right.
I love that. And if you don't mind, if I could ask, what specifically do you want to change?
Scott, do you want to host this podcast?
No, just kidding. That's my resolution for next year.
That is a good question, though.
Yes.
Meisha, what do you want to change? What case do you want your name on?
So, so my background here, when I came to Lois, I did a lot of construction cases, right? And I've seen a lot. And, representing like wrap-up policies, OSIP policies, I don't necessarily like the way that it turns out that because someone worked, at a job site 2 minutes, that policy is liable for that claim. I hate that. I think it's wrong. I liked before when it was, I can't remember the case, but, the operational policy would control. I don't know why that changed per se, because I do feel like it's unfair, these occupational disease claims. They come in and literally you can be there for an hour and, you're stuck holding the bag. And I'm telling you, my clients go crazy when they're like, how are we stuck with this $400,000 slew payment for a case that this guy only worked with us for like 2 days?
I'm like brimming with like so much like soapbox energy after that because it's, right? Like if I think about it even further, right? Like you always want companies to take on these large scale construction projects that benefit society as a whole, right? So you want all of these big companies to contribute, right? Like, if you need a new subway station, if you need a new school, if you need to construct a new building, there's not just a company that's going to do everything for you. And so these large scale projects that require the wrap-up policies, with the law in place of this like last on the risk garbage, right? It's like incentivizing people to latch on to the subcontractors and then almost petition themselves to get onto these projects and not even do anything, right? Like we've seen so many of those claims where they just step on site, right? And have an accident. And it's like, now I'm going on to a tangent. Sorry, everybody. It's just
sorry.
Imagine like
My fault too.
It's your first day of work. It's your first day of work anywhere. Forget construction.
Right.
And you're going to claim things like you can never work again to something that happened, right? Like the audacity and the impossibility of that occurrence. Like your first day anywhere being put in a place where you're going to now say that something is going to prevent you from working for the rest of your life. And this last on the risk concept, I think it's a great, opportunity for change. I wish you well, right? But that's going to be a tough resolution to win on. But I think part of like what we're after is the attempt, right? The investment in the effort, not necessarily the result. Okay.
Worthwhile.
All right. We're gonna go after some real like law changes here. That's good. At the cutting edge. Okay. Anybody else?
I mean, in a way that, helpfully, I always like to share my own experiences and tips and wonders that I've learned along the way. It's really, you always try to get somebody to not repeat your mistakes early on, from your first outings or when you just said, all right, here's your first hearing, go. Like, but it's not the same thing. Like you knew you were going in prepared, and that was always the lesson. I think I brought it to my paralegal the other day. I said the best lesson I ever learned in law school was essentially know your stuff. He used it an expletive, but was my torts professor. He basically, and it's instilled me from every day since. And it's always be the most prepared person in the room, no matter what, because you never know who's not going to know something, and it's an opportunity for another argument to develop or another fact to be disclosed. And obviously judges have so many things on their calendar. And I think in my last few years, I've tried to instill that on some of the newer associates, and any chance I can help out is always appreciated. But to your point, I think my New Year's resolution is always to get those more nuanced areas in the construction realm that Meisha and I deal with on a daily basis, but explain them, especially to judges and the board, in as articulate and as straightforward as I can, because I'm learning more and more the nuances aren't always these judges' strong point. So I gotta take these, complex ideas and arguments that I have and basically put them on a neon sign.
Hey, I mean, if you need a neon sign, we just like put one in the back, right?
A verbal neon sign that doesn't, result in me shaking a computer or yelling expletives in front of a judge or anything like that. Like, what do you mean you don't understand this? This is so easy.
I think that is a tough thing though, because when you spend time on a case, right, there are moments where you're just like, I know this case and this claimant better than the claimant knows himself or herself. Like there are definitely those moments. And then you go into a hearing or a deposition, you're just like, how do you not understand this? How is it possible that you don't get what I'm saying? But going back to that foundation of being more prepared, that always allows you to pivot, answer questions, right? Like sometimes like the results aren't going to go your way, but knowing the file puts you in a position to do right by the client. They're after that more than the result. So I think that's a good one too.
In addition to helping people, because I think that's all.
Right. No one's going to say I'm not going to help people.
Yeah. I do enjoy like when people like knock on my door and say, hey, can I ask you a question? Like I do enjoy that. But I also think just.
It's like a badge of honor.
Yeah. Like I feel like, oh, you
trust me.
Think I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I guess expanding my expertise, because for example, I don't think I've ever had a construction case, for example. Like what Meisha deals with, I wouldn't know what to do. Just like by chance, I've had coverage, but like her specific wrap-up policies, it's never come up for me. And so I think that's, learning a new area, even within comp, can be scary, but like, I'd like to master more areas than just, the repetitive fraud or the SLU or the CR type of, things that I do almost on a daily basis.
Yeah. And like, I'm not saying that this applies like across the board, and, Meisha and Danny, you can definitely, overrule me on this if you feel it differently. I think sometimes with a construction claim, it's more just like knowing like the other actors involved, right? Because at its very heart, it's still a construction claim. It's still a workers' compensation claim, right? The actual added benefit that I take out of it is that like motor that you have to like be aggressive. They love that,
yes,
right?
Wholeheartedly agree.
Yes. If you have an idea that it's like, I think we can do this, it is very rare that a construction client will be like, no, I think that's too aggressive, right?
The broker intervenes and says, that's a great idea. Let's do it.
And do this too.
Yeah. And while we're at it, let's do these other things that I know you were really just touching on, but I think they're great. And let's just do it. Let's go full bore.
Yeah. I think you get more feedback, because there's so many different actors that are at play that can really make you the most informed person in the room. But that's a great resolution. I think that's also an example of what I think people don't do enough of, is like the modesty, right? Like I'm definitely very victim to not having much humility, and to have a resolution that says like, I want to get better at an area here, right? Like that I'm not that comfortable in, is something that we should see more of. Like people that are honest and humble, because I think that makes the whole process more transparent, more real, and that when you do get it, when you feel like you're proficient, you're gonna know that it's not some thing that you're expressing to everyone, like I'm an expert everywhere. Like you can actually say it because you were honest in the beginning. That's a really cool moment. Appreciate that from you, Olivia. All right, let's go to you, Kristine. What's your resolution for 2026?
For me, it's important to feel important. So my New Year's resolution is to make every member of our team feel valued and important. That is why my New Year's resolution is to uphold the culture of winning in our law firm by launching my project, my winning results project that I'm working on with Mark Girardi, where we will have a platform of submitting wins in a easier format. So everybody will be encouraged to submit their wins, share their strategies, and inspire others to win. As a matter of fact, I have already started doing this winning results project, and I have spoken with some of the attorneys who have submitted some wins, and I have given them some insights on how to improve the articles that they have been submitting. And I feel like this is a very important way of making the paralegals feel valued, because it is not just us attorneys who are crucial to the win, but also the paralegals that we work with. And my paralegal right now, James Calabro, is very inspired in advancing his career because of this winning mindset that we have. Whenever we have our conversations in the morning to start our day, we would always amp each other up and encourage each other to go through the day and have a strong mindset to finish the entire day by doing what we do best. And that is to inspire each other and to aspire for advancement. And James Calabro even is interested in doing things that are outside his level. And I'm very glad that I am crucial in inspiring him to do more than what he's doing now.
Wow. How do you follow that? That's incredible, Kristine. Yeah, right. She probably knew. She's like, I'm gonna hit them with this. Let them talk about their. That's a great one. I think that I think all of us here know how much value our paralegals provide, and I think it's something that new attorneys don't know that as much yet, right? How much going through subpoena responses, getting those doctors scheduled for depositions, and you're talking about, Kristine, like your paralegal having like a winning mindset. Sometimes it's also just like keeping the positivity vibes up, like, hey, we got this, it's okay, kind of thing, because we all need that as human beings from time to time. So I think that's great. Wish you luck with that project. I'm always a fan of new projects. So yeah, I think that's a really good set of New Year's resolutions we have, guys. And just to close it off, right? If we think back to where we were in December of 2016, right? Episode 1 of this podcast, right? Where you were at the time, you might have been feeling really confident or really not, or secure, insecure. Someone out there right now is in a very similar spot, right? So what advice would you give them for their career?
Go with your gut.
Go with your gut.
Whatever that is, I think I fought, like for me, I think I fought a gut feeling because,
oh yeah.
I didn't know if I wanted to go to law school because it was what I knew from family, or if it's really what I wanted to do. So, take the time to figure that out. But if your gut feeling is still there, it's there for a reason.
Right. It's not going to go away.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Nice. Go with your gut.
I mean, for newer attorneys coming out of law school, I mean, you have time. So try different things. You may decide, hey, you're going to go and start at this firm. Maybe you give them a year and you're like, nope, it's not a good fit for me. You then go and you do something else. I mean, to me, what's like really important is just a place where you feel comfortable being yourself, right? I mean, I've worked several places, and one thing I can say about this place is that I can be myself. Like, I'm I'm a lot. I don't know. I'm not for everyone, but I feel like I can be myself. People hear me talking to myself, as they come down the hallway or I'm laughing really loud, like it's okay, right? I won't be fired.
You're more than enough for us. Don't worry.
Thank you, Christian.
Find a place where you can be yourself for sure, right? If you can't be yourself, then you're not going to be happy at your job, like number one. And I think not only that, Kristine, you mentioned Mark Girardi here, and we probably don't give him enough shine as well, because you can talk about all the times that he's ever been negative on one hand, maybe. I don't think I've ever heard a negative word from that guy ever. And so maybe also just like a message to everybody here, right? Like everybody here who listens, it's like, you may be going through something, a tough case, a tough client, maybe you're just not feeling like you're getting it. But there are so many supports here to put you in the position to be at your best. And so that's a great one, right? Definitely find a place where you can be yourself, right? That's great. Anybody else?
Just say, be a sponge.
Be a sponge.
Learn as much as you can, meet as many different people. I mean, we're all a collection of experiences at this point, good, bad, and indifferent. But, here we are all in a room together talking about it. So
be a sponge. Very, very nice and concise, Dan. Appreciate that. So, that neon resolutions, I think it's coming through already.
I'm working on it,
right?
9 days in.
be
I'll let you know what my paralegal thinks. Speaking of Lifeline.
All right. Any last words from you, Scott or Kristine?
I would say, I guess, based upon 2016, going back and looking back, don't let the work consume you.
Right.
It's very stressful to begin with to be an attorney. If it starts to take over and it affects other areas of your life, it's not good.
Yeah.
The caseload is what it is. There's people to help, and don't let it take over. That would be what I would say. And people have gone through it or are going through it with you, talk to them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great point. I think I don't think that many attorneys understand that this is actually like a club. This is a society, right? I remember long ago when I passed the bar, someone that one of my friends, he works for state government in Massachusetts. His words to me were "Welcome to the club" as attorneys, and I felt like that always emboldened me to be okay, well, we worked hard to get here. Let's make something of it, right? This isn't something that we're just getting by with. This is something that not everybody can do, not everybody wants to do it, and yet we're here, right? So, don't get too stressed out. That's a great one. And I guess we'll kick it to Kristine again for the final thought. Does she have another zinger for us to close us out?
My advice for everybody in the crossroad of their career, like I was in 2016, take a leap of faith and embrace change. Because what you're doing today will have an impact on where you will be 10 years from now. And the most important thing is, in your decision making, you should always ask yourself, are you doing something today that will make you proud tomorrow? That should be your guide.
And you did it again, Kristine. I'm not even going to go on a little soliloquy. Are you doing something today that's going to make you proud tomorrow? That's incredible. That is incredible. That kind of encapsulates everything we've been talking about, guys. I know that we are recording longer than I promised to keep you here, so I'm very sorry. But just to go back around the room, Kristine, Meisha, Olivia, Scott, and Dan, thank you all for being here. This is Christian Cison reminding you to defend from day one.